I still remember like a month ago hearing, well, the LA Kings have clinched the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference. Who talks like that? And like just over a month later, we hear this. The Kings are 1 win away from the final. They're 5 away from the Stanley Cup. Time flies. In fact, they're 11-1 in these playoffs. And think of some of their players that have been just so good for them. Jonathan Quick has been amazing in net, very difficult to beat down low. Dustin Brown and Anze Kopitar leading the Kings in scoring with 15 and 14 points respectively. I know plus minus is kind of a wonky stat in that it doesn't tell you everything, but both those guys are plus 12 in 12 games. That isn't fair. But I would like to talk about one player on the Kings in particular for his impact on this series. Is it Jeff Carter? He did get that Game 2 hat trick. No. A King in more ways than one, Dwight King. Now, I remember seeing his name at a few points during the season and just being like, his name's King and he's on the Kings. Similar story in junior hockey last year where the Brandon Wheat Kings of the WHL actually had a player named Wheaton King. And crazy thing about that is I don't even think Wheaton King was the coolest name in the WHL last season. That distinction belongs to Kootenay Ice forward Steel Boomer. Look it up! Anyway, Dwight King. Coming into the series, he was a minus on a team that's done amazing, and he only had 1 point, a goal. But he's still pretty much a role player and not really a notable name other than how cool it sounds, so no one really expected much. Well, in the first 3 games of the Western Conference Final, Dwight King has 4 goals. Giving him 5 goals on the playoffs, he only had 5 goals all season. He hasn't scored like this since the 07-08 season when he was still in junior playing for the WHL's Lethbridge Hurricanes. 34 goals and 65 points in his most successful junior season with them. And if you know junior stats, that's pretty good. It's not amazingly dominating, but it's respectable. And he's paid his dues to make the Kings. He's been in the AHL for the last few seasons playing for the Manchester Monarchs. He even played 20 games in the ECHL. And one last little history lesson on Dwight King. Even though his last name is King and he's playing for the Kings, that's not the coolest team name he's played for. 04-05, playing in the SMHL, Dwight King played for Beardy's Blackhawks. If you don't trust me, please by all means look that up. Because while you're doing that, I'm going to order a Beardy's Blackhawks jersey immediately. So there's your little Dwight King history lesson. Now for the coaches. Specifically Dave Tippett, who was mad. He thought the Kings were embellishing a bit, and well, here you go.
If I told you what I really thought, I think it would cost me a lot of money. And personally, and I've talked about this in a lot of meetings with Don, our general manager, that the game is turning a little dishonest, and it's embellishment by players because they know, and it's when it's done well, it's very hard for the referees, very hard, because if you fall down near the boards or you drop your stick or you throw your head back, you're putting the referee in a very tough situation. And you know, not just our game tonight, you see it all through that the referees have a hard job, and what it does, it makes the game dishonest. But in actual fact, to make it work to your favor, you got to do it more. I mean, you got to do it, or if everybody else is doing it, you better do it too. We saw more than one penalty out there for us and against us that were called that I thought were plays where there was embellishment. So it's too bad that it has to go that way. It's too bad that you get to this point in the season that becomes a factor, but it's the reality of our game right now.
And this led to a lot of people in the Twitterverse talking about, oh, the refs were out to get the Coyotes, the fix is in. And one of my favorite follows on all of Twitter, Joe Yurden, pointed out something amazing. And that is, I find it very difficult to believe that the refs would be out to get the Phoenix Coyotes because they are owned and run by the league. Did the refs maybe botch a few calls? Well, it certainly wouldn't be the first time that a ref messed up a call in these playoffs, would it? But to say the fix is in? Kings coach Daryl Sutter thought very similarly.
Embellishing?
Diving.
I didn't see that. We didn't complain last game. And I don't think Dave's complaining either. I mean, you know what? There wasn't that many power plays. So obviously we're doing something right.
I like what it all comes down to. Yeah, well, you were jerks last game, so we're jerks this game. Maturity, because it's the Cup. The next game in these playoffs, that is 1 p.m. this Saturday afternoon, right here on CBC, Game 3 between the Devils and the Rangers. And then the next day on Sunday, the Kings with the chance for the sweep.